That's kind of very alarming to me. Why the hell would Future's blood brother, who kind of like runs the FBG label, why would he have a bunch of like? Do people keep for their own personal use? No, right? I don't know too much about like that type of drugs, but no, right? So that kind of seems like they're doing some drug dealing, right? 21 kilos? Kilos?
The feds just ran a massive sweep and it hit close to home. Future's blood brother, FBG Casino, is now staring down a serious federal sentence that could lock him up for life. The entire hip-hop world is stunned because behind Casino's flashy lifestyle and FBG ties, investigators say a huge operation was moving quietly. Authorities seized 21 kilograms of dangerous substances and nearly $400,000 in cash, and that was enough to blow the doors wide open. What really took Casino down is way deeper than people thought, and insiders say the feds are building a much bigger case that could stretch further than anyone expected. This is real federal pressure rocking the Atlanta scene hard, so let's break it all down. This story got way more layers than people realize, and it keeps getting crazier by the minute. Before we go any further, let's keep it real and cut through the noise, because the street's been loud about Casino getting picked up, but not everything floating around is facts. We separating truth from rumors, real from fake, because November 19th, 2025 is the date that flipped everything upside down for Rico DeVille Boyce, better known as FBG Casino, who is Future's actual blood brother. The 41-year-old was laid back at an Airbnb in Forest Park, Georgia, when a federal task force stormed in with serious intent, no warning at all. And don't get it twisted thinking this was some routine situation, because this is federal territory with heavy charges, strict minimums, and the kind of case that clearly had Rico in the crosshairs from the jump. But this is where things really heat up fast, because the big question is why now, and why Casino after all these years? He'd been moving the same way for a long time, so the timing got people raising eyebrows everywhere. November 14th, 2025, is when everything started cracking, when federal agents teamed up with Clayton County Police and pulled up on that Forest Park rental like a full-blown movie scene, warrants ready and pressure heavy. Casino saw the move coming and tried to bolt out the side door, thinking he could still move like he was 20-something and untouchable in the streets. But federal agents do not play around, and they clearly had this whole thing mapped out after watching him for months. When they caught him trying to run, he had about $4,000 cash stuffed in his pockets, and that moment changed everything instantly. Now, for regular people, that kind of cash sounds heavy, but for someone allegedly moving serious weight like Casino, that was pocket change, nothing more. In the streets, running from police is almost automatic. But when federal agents pull up, that's a whole different level of pressure and risk. This wasn't some small-time corner setup either, and Casino wasn't moving sloppy or loud. Investigators say this was a smooth, well-organized distribution network that stayed low for years without drawing attention. Things really shifted once names like David S. Devin and Montello Diaz entered the picture, including the 23-year-old from Coachella, California, who got tangled up in this situation. That cross-state link likely rang every federal alarm possible and pushed this case into serious territory fast. When product starts moving from California straight into Georgia, that's interstate business, and that's exactly when federal eyes lock in hard. That's the line you never want to cross, because once it happens, the case jumps to a whole new level instantly. The young guy from the West Coast likely thought it was quick money and smooth motion, but now he's facing the same life-altering federal time as Casino himself. Agents found Casino with $4,000 cash on him, but that was nothing compared to what was waiting inside the property. Investigators seized 21 kilograms of a dangerous substance, around $380,000 in tightly bundled cash, a money counter, sealing equipment, and a firearm tied to the operation. On top of that, authorities say another $80,000 was stashed in a designer bag linked to Casino, showing just how deep and organized this lifestyle really was. But here's where this whole situation gets really wild and almost unbelievable. Casino was literally seen in Future's music video called Feds, acting out a sweep scene, surrounded by cash, product, and flashy living like it was just another day. It's either life copying art or art copying life. But either way, it looks like he was putting everything out in the open, while federal eyes were quietly watching and taking notes the whole time. And this story goes way deeper than a simple possession situation, because Casino been tied to this life for a long time and never really hit it. He spoke on it in interviews and even dropped a mixtape back in 2013 called Ex-Drug Dealer, telling the world he had left the streets behind. But looking at everything now, that X part feels more like a cover than a clean break. To really understand how this all built up, you gotta look at the timeline, because this didn't happen overnight. Back in 2013, Casino dropped that Ex-Drug Dealer project, claiming he was done with street life and focused on music. The tape featured Future and Young Scooter, with production from Metro Boomin and Zaytoven, showing he was locked in with Atlanta's heavy hitters from the start. Casino was pushing this image like he had fully left the streets behind and jumped headfirst into the music lane, clean and focused. Fast forward to 2017, and he's doing interviews saying trapping is dead, claiming real trappers don't even exist anymore, and calling people sloppy for posting everything online. He's on camera saying folks are basically building their own cases with social media, telling on themselves without even realizing it. The irony is heavy, because that's exactly what he was doing the entire time, stacking clips, interviews, and posts that all started looking like evidence. Then you got that street-style interview where Casino is moving around confidently, allegedly armed, talking big about having protection ready and flashing weapons in the back of a luxury car. People in the comments were already calling it out, saying he was moving reckless and that these videos felt like straight self-incrimination. One comment even said, "How many people gotta go federal before they realize these videos are telling on themselves?" And looking back now, that comment hit way too close to home. When your own brother is sitting on an estimated 50 to 100 million, like Future, and you still out here risking federal time, that says a lot about pride and mindset. Some people hate the idea of feeling dependent, even if the help is coming from their own blood. And Casino clearly took that independence to an extreme level. For some, it's deeper than money, because they'd rather risk everything than feel like they're living in someone else's shadow. But this situation gets way more complicated than just family ties. Casino wasn't only Future's brother. He was also active on the business side of FBG, described as someone handling day-to-day moves and trusted with real responsibilities. That's where things start getting blurry, because it raises the question of where legitimate business stops and where illegal activity allegedly begins. That gray zone is exactly what federal prosecutors love to dig into, especially in complex cases like this. And here's the part that really hits hard. Casino is facing a mandatory minimum of 10 years with the possibility of life at 41 years old, which is career-ending and life-altering. What really stands out is that he was moving openly for years, posting online, doing interviews, and even popping up in high-profile moments connected to Future, like nothing could ever touch him. The feds really did a sweep, and it's wild because there's footage of him surrounded by money and product like it was normal life. So the big question is, why did authorities move right now, out of all times? Let's be real. Nobody just accidentally stumbles onto 21 kilos and nearly $380,000 in cash without solid intel guiding every step. This wasn't luck. This was precision, and they knew exactly where to go, when to strike, and what they were about to find. Casino had been moving for years without trouble, but something clearly shifted behind the scenes. That co-defendant from California, Montelo Diaz, might have been the turning point, because once interstate movement enters the picture, federal attention follows fast. And here's how these cases really go. Authorities don't wake up randomly and kick doors in. They build slowly, sometimes for years, using surveillance, financial trails, wiretaps, and pressure tactics that squeeze everyone involved. At some point, someone in Casino's circle likely got caught with less weight and chose to talk to protect themselves. That's how big cases crack open, not with noise, but with quiet cooperation. And this situation feels bigger than one arrest, because federal prosecutors love using organized crime playbooks, especially after what they pulled off in the YSL case. With FBG, multiple artists, money moving, and leadership roles involved, this case could be just the beginning of something much larger unfolding. The feds could try to paint a narrative where Future is positioned as the head of a criminal enterprise, allegedly using his music success to help clean money tied to his brother's operation. We've already seen this strategy before. Just look at what happened with Young Thug and YSL, where prosecutors argued it wasn't just a label, but an organized group. They leaned on lyrics, social media posts, and business records to build that case, and that playbook still exists today. That's why this situation feels extra sensitive, because Future's brother was just caught with a massive amount of product, and prosecutors could argue that Future knew more than he let on. They might claim FBG was used as a front to move money, even if nothing like that has been proven yet. Let that sit for a second, because Future's music has always leaned heavy into street talk, weight talk, and trap life. Tracks like Move That Dope and Karate Chop are packed with references, and in a federal courtroom, prosecutors love turning art into alleged evidence when it fits their story. The feds absolutely love leaning on rap lyrics, and Future has a whole catalog talking about that lifestyle in detail. Prosecutors could try to argue that FBG isn't just a music label, but an organized operation, with Future painted as the boss and Casino positioned as the street lieutenant handling the groundwork. That's the kind of storyline they push when they want to aim higher and shake the whole tree. Another angle they might chase is following the money trail, because if Casino was allegedly pulling in hundreds of thousands, the big question is, where did that cash really go? Did any of it end up inside FBG, wrapped up in legit-looking business deals that could be labeled as money cleaning later on? Federal investigators have forensic accountants whose entire job is tracing dirty money through clean businesses step by step. And this isn't just about one arrest in 2025. This is about how the feds move today. They don't stop at the street level, they go for the whole structure. History shows the same pattern every time. Start with the foot soldiers, then climb straight up to the people at the top. But here's the part that really got me thinking hard. So the real question is, why now? Because Casino been moving like this for years without a problem. So what made November 2025 the breaking point? It could be that new federal leadership started pushing harder on these kinds of cases, or maybe someone high up in Casino's circle got picked up and decided to cooperate. Another strong possibility is that investigators finally felt like they had enough evidence stacked to move forward with something much bigger and more serious. But here's the part that really doesn't sit right with a lot of people. Why was Casino still active in the streets when his brother could have easily put him on payroll and kept him clean? We talking about risking life in federal prison when the money wasn't even the issue anymore? That points straight to pride, independence, or maybe distance was already there because the signs were obvious long ago. In street culture, there's this mindset that you don't abandon the game that built you, even when legit doors open. Some people feel like they owe loyalty to the network they created, and Casino might have felt trapped by that responsibility, unable to fully walk away without consequences. But that loyalty to the streets could end up costing him his entire future, and that's the cold part about it. Family loyalty runs deep, no doubt, but business is still business, and it's very possible. Future warned Casino years ago to step away from that life. The truth is, you can't save someone who doesn't want saving. And now Future is stuck in a dangerous position where helping his brother could pull him into a federal conspiracy spotlight. If Future were to cover Casino's legal defense, prosecutors could twist that into a story about an organization taking care of its own. And that's the last thing anyone wants in a federal case. That's why the real question isn't just about Casino anymore. It's about whether investigators are building something much bigger behind the scenes. Casino isn't just facing simple charges. He's wrapped up in conspiracy accusations, which means authorities believe others were involved. Add in the California connection with Montelo Diaz, years of interviews, social posts, and music videos, And this starts looking like the early stages of a much wider investigation into FBG as a whole. Now let's talk about the Homeland Security Task Force that actually made this arrest. This wasn't just local law enforcement making a routine move. This was a full federal task force built to target large-scale, multi-state criminal operations. They come with deep resources, serious manpower, and one clear mission: go after the big players, not just the small names. The fact they used this level of force in Casino's case says a lot, because it suggests investigators believe this situation was way bigger than one individual allegedly moving product. At the core of it, Casino's situation isn't just about getting caught up. It's about pride, family loyalty, and not knowing when to step away. He had every chance to leave that life behind and move clean, especially with his brother being one of the biggest artists on the planet. He could have lived comfortably without ever risking federal time, but sometimes the streets don't let go, or sometimes people refuse to let go of the streets. Casino's story ends up being a real cautionary tale about what happens when someone can't evolve past their past. The blueprint for success was right in front of him, watching his own brother rise from the streets to superstardom. Instead of following that path, he stayed loyal to a game that was never designed to show loyalty back, and now the consequences are impossible to ignore. Now he's 41 years old, staring at the possibility of life in federal prison. And for what? Money he didn't even need anymore. That street respect means nothing when you're sitting alone doing decades behind bars, and the people cheering you on are nowhere to be found. That's the part that really hits hard, because none of it was worth this ending. The bigger question now is what happens next for Future and FBG, because if the feds are really building a RICO case, this is only the opening chapter. Every move will be watched, every lyric dissected, and every dollar traced with a microscope. Future could be forced to make some extremely difficult choices about family and business just to protect his freedom and his career. This case could shake the entire hip-hop industry if prosecutors succeed in labeling FBG as a criminal enterprise. That would set a dangerous precedent where labels, artists, and music itself get dragged into federal courtrooms. Every rapper who ever spoke on street life could suddenly be vulnerable, and that's the scary part. We've seen this play out before with Bobby Shmurda and Young Thug, and now people are wondering if Future might be next on that list. The message coming out of this is loud and clear. Success in hip-hop does not shield anyone from federal attention, especially when family ties still reach into the streets. What the feds are really signaling is that they don't believe artists can ever fully separate from their past, and they're pushing the idea that the culture itself is criminal, with the music painted as a cover for illegal activity. That's a dangerous road because it puts every artist who came from nothing under the same microscope. Casino is 41 years old, facing the possibility of life behind bars, all for money he didn't even need anymore. That so-called respect means nothing when you're stuck doing decades and the same people hyping you up disappear. Walking away from the life that built you is hard, but the alternative is losing your freedom forever. The streets will always be there, but freedom doesn't come back once it's gone. As for Future, you already know he's got top-tier legal minds working non-stop to keep this from touching him. Still, when the feds lock in, they look for connections everywhere. And the smartest move right now is creating distance from anything that could even look questionable and hoping his brother's case doesn't grow into something much bigger. So now it's on you, because this situation raises real questions that don't have easy answers. What do you think about Casino's situation? And how serious do you believe the impact could be on Future's career going forward? Do you feel like the feds are quietly building a full RICO case around FBG? Or is this really just about one man's individual decisions catching up with him? And be honest, should Future have stepped in harder to keep his brother away from the streets, or is this simply the result of a grown man choosing his own path? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this conversation is far from over. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel Famezaar, because we're locked in and following every update as this case unfolds. Federal cases move fast, and when new details surface, you'll want to already be tapped in and notified first. Also, Check out the video on screen breaking down how the feds built their case against Young Thug, because that same playbook could be in motion right now. This story is only getting started, and Famezaar will be right here covering every twist, every turn, and every development as it happens.